Welcome back to another episode of Polar Bears and Flip Flops. I'm your co-host Angelo, and here with my co-host Angelo Villa Gomez, getting ready for this ocean sciences meeting. Angelo leaves for Glasgow tomorrow. I am not going, unfortunately, but so we're going to be living through Angelo's life essentially for the next one. Angelo, how
Follow,
you doing?
follow me on Blue Sky and Instagram. I will possibly tweet a couple things. And fun story. I'm actually not. I'm only going to the conference for one day. It starts on Sunday and it goes like 5 or 6 days. But I am
Okay.
going the week. I'm going the weekend before the conference for a workshop, and then I'm going to the second day of the conference where I will speak on one panel, and then I will come home the next day. And I've got the whole day, and it's conference stuff, so I'll probably check out some of the other discussions
Right on. Nice. I'm just checking. I
while I'm
think I
there.
may have made a mistake in going live. I'm not sure. I think we're live on Polar Bears and Flip
Okay,
Flops channel. Should be
says
good.
on the air, you're in the broadcast. I will check my phone.
Yeah.
Uh,
These are the
let's
fun parts
see.
of going live, making sure
Yeah, live television.
it won't show up.
Uh,
Usually it shows up here.
Speak up for W.
The
Um,
blue.
Live. I'm not seeing this episode. Oh wait, Polar Bears and Flip Flops. I was looking at Speak Up for Blue.
Yeah, I still don't see it.
You
Like,
think you think you might have it on Polar? It says test.
yeah, I did a test beforehand.
Ocean Sciences meeting prep. Oh, I see myself. I am
There you
live.
go.
Look,
You're live. Beautiful. Beautiful.
look at that.
Okay, good. We're on.
I've got,
Okay.
and I and
My
and I
apologies.
know, I know it's live because I have a mustache.
Yes.
And in the previous episodes, I didn't have a mustache.
That's right.
Actually, when we started the show, I had no mustache and just a beard or goatee. And then over the course of this has now been 7 weeks, I grew the
Yes.
mustache, and then I said, you know what, the goatee's got to go. So that's how I know it's live.
That's how you know it's live. All right. Well, we are live on the Polar Bears and Flip Flops channel. We have our own channel now, and we're going to be here discussing the Glasgow Ocean Sciences meeting 2026. Have you ever been to one of these meetings before?
I've never been. It's part of the AGU. I've never been to AGU before either.
Right.
I'm not a scientist, and
Right.
I have an undergraduate degree in biology, but I never went and got my master's, and I never got a PhD. And my career, I've been knocking on doors and standing in front of the post office with a clipboard asking you to sign my petition. And it's really only been in the last 10 years that I got into like the real science, and
Mm.
that was just it was honestly it was just luck. The person who I used to work in an organization called Pew, and the person in our campaign that managed the science portfolio left, and they're like, "Hey, Angelo, you're doing this now." And I dabbled a little bit, like when I did shark work at Pew. I worked with Katie Matthews, who's now over at Oceana, and we
Mm-hmm.
came up with
Mm-hmm.
the question we were trying to ask was, uh, do shark sanctuaries work?
Mm.
Are our shark sanctuary, are our shark work, is it benefiting shark populations? And we came up with like 5 or 6 studies, and we had a pretty decent budget, and we did some work on eDNA. We did some work on the economics of shark sanctuaries. It's been over 10 years. I actually forget the
Yeah.
specifics of everything. So like I dabbled a little bit in science, but my first science conference was literally 10 years ago at the IMCC in St. John's in Canada, and I had never written a science paper before that.
Mm-hmm.
And At that conference, I was invited by Chris Parsons, Dr.
Yeah.
Chris,
Yeah.
and Rick McPherson, and they were running a focus group on what does conservation really mean. Like you keep using that word. What does it
Yeah.
actually mean? And we had a focus group with a number of scientists who were at the conference, and we turned that into a paper, and it published in the proceedings of IMCC. And that was literally like the first time that was the first time I participated in the peer review process. I remember doing references back in college, but my professors were not as sticky as reviewer number two, who who can be very sticky, regardless of which journal you were publishing in.
I know what's funny is that when you have a focus group on like what conservation actually means, that is the most sciencey thing that I have ever heard. Just having one focus group on what conservation means. That's a sciencey thing right there. It begs to the question, you say you have a degree in biology. I also have a degree in biology. I did a lot of science in my career, but I've also done a lot of science communication in my career. You don't call yourself a scientist, but it begs the question, if you're a trained scientist and you understand the concepts of science, if you're not a practicing scientist, and that could mean a lot of different things, can you call yourself a scientist?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it means like what is so I was thinking more of like a Western scientist, and I know this is like heresy in some places, but I feel like there's a phrase, a self-certifying elite. The scientists are part of a self-certifying elite where you don't become a true scientist until you get your PhD. And I know, there's pushback on like, well, now we talk about indigenous scientists and we talk about citizen scientists, and we've changed the definition a little bit. But like, when I was younger, when I was in the 1990s and 2000s, when I was coming up, to me, you became a scientist when you got your PhD and you called yourself a doctor. And
interesting. I disagree with that completely.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's hear yours.
Well, because here's the thing. So say a cop graduates, the police academy, right? They become a cop. If you're a detective, that's like getting a PhD in a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Step up.
But if you're a patrolman, you're still the cop. You're working as a police officer. If you graduate with a science degree, you can get a job as a scientist. You don't have to have a PhD to get a job as a scientist. You can work in a lab. You can do field work. You can do fisheries analysis, stock assessment analysis, wildlife analysis. You can do a variety of different things and still in your title have scientist. Now, I know titles can be very general, and sometimes you look at, titles of jobs, you're like, well, I didn't even know I could get that, which I discovered, different ways of looking at jobs and stuff like that and what people call themselves. But I feel like if you graduate with an undergraduate degree in science, you are a scientist because you have been trained in science. You may not be a practicing scientist, but you are still a scientist.
And you've thought this way since the 90s?
No.
Okay,
well, I would say I thought this way, I thought this way after I graduated. And I started hearing people being like, and I started hearing people talk about what it is to be a scientist. Like when people ask, like, what do you do? I'm a science communicator, but I'm also a marine biologist because I bring my knowledge of marine biology to like the podcast and to this and stuff like that. I don't do research, but then you would be called a researcher. Like if you're a professor, you teach and you do research. If you're a researcher, you're a researcher, but all of that is still science. If I work for a private consulting firm and I'm going out and I'm doing, a research study to look at whether there are mining impacts on a river system, that's still you're doing science. You're looking at statistical means to determine if there's a change in the population. So that's my question. It really is like I feel like my argument, I guess, is you can still be a scientist without necessarily practicing science, as long as you use science in your work that you do.
As a seasoned professional now, so and part of it is just it's semantics, right? Like I feel like what you're describing. Sure. So like I feel like in the 2000s, the person who had the biology degree, who had a job in science in the science field, like you'd call that person a tech, or the sampler. Like you might not necessarily, or even the researcher, but you wouldn't we might not necessarily call them the scientist. But like where I am now is, somebody who uses science, somebody who uses the scientific method, which is, the scientific method is you observe the world, you come up with a hypothesis, you test your hypothesis, and either it's wrong or it's right. If it's right, somebody can then, it has to be this is a hard word for me to say, able to replicate it. And if it's wrong, you throw your hypothesis out. But if your hypothesis is wrong, Then you come up with a new hypothesis, and
Right.
you retest it. And that's science. It's constantly testing those hypotheses, and so I like where I am now is like that's what a scientist is, and that opens the doors for other types of scientists because a lot of indigenous knowledge,
Yeah.
I believe, uses the scientific knowledge, uses the scientific method. You know, if you either you listen to somebody talk or you read a book about people who use indigenous science, it's they go out in the world and at some point somebody observed the world,
Hmm.
and using what they knew, they explained the world as it made sense to them, and oftentimes the measurements were hyper localized, like extremely specific to like this one place or this one language. um, and when the Western scientist comes in and looks at this indigenous scientists, sometimes it just doesn't make sense because they have a different worldview, or they have a different way of experiencing the world, a different way of being or way of thinking. But when you uh, think of it as observations were made, a
Right.
hypothesis, that there was, uh, um, you tested your hypothesis with an experiment, and then the other thing that difference was in the indigenous knowledge is the way that it's transferred. So for Western scientists, you got to go through the scientific publishing process, and you have to pay a lot of money to a publisher. Whereas for indigenous knowledge, you tell your kids,
Yeah.
and they pass it down. So yeah, no, like
Yeah.
so I'm agree with you. I think that I have this wider view of what a scientist is today.
Hmm.
Um, but after that long discussion, like I really don't think of what I do as like I don't think of myself as a scientist first. Like
Right.
I am an activist. Like I am a professional ocean activist, and increasingly more polished, and better at what I do, because I'm a policy expert now.
Yes.
Right? No, I'm not an activist. I'm a policy expert, and it's the same job. I'm influence. It's the same ideas. Is there's there's something in the world that I want to change, and I'm figuring out the people who I need to make that change, and I go out there and convince them to do it.
And I think, but you also based a lot of that in the science.
And I
You
also get to
use
do
science in
as a
this
part of
way.
that, and I get to
Yeah.
do science
Yeah. Yeah.
now, but I'm not a scientist. Like I literally have I had a paper approved last week, so it'll in a couple of weeks I'll have my latest piece come out, and
Nice. Yeah.
I've got a couple other projects in the hopper, and they'll come out over the next couple of weeks and months and years too.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's why I go. So that's why I get invited to these sorts of things. Is like I guess people might say I'm a practitioner. Like I do
Hmm.
it in the real world. Um, but for this one, I'm actually going. I'm going to a Compass training, and they are science communicators. So
Right.
I'll be working with a group of younger scientists, not all young, but young at heart, on how to communicate some of their work and their science to local communities. Because I've gained a reputation as like being a dude who's good at talking to local communities.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you are very good at that, and you are very good at. I know I've learned a lot from you over the years in our talks of terms of like what to consider when you're talking to local communities, how to engage, how to have that conversation, how to be able to sit there and just listen, right? Like
Mhm.
and be able to have that conversation and what other people consider, other than going in with a conservation lens or a science lens or the both or a policy lens and just be like what do you need, what are you looking for to get out
Yep.
of this process, or what are you looking to get out of this coastline, or what have you, right? I think that's the thing that I've learned a lot about you going into this. Like, what do you know going into this workshop other than you're going to be helping? Like, what do you anticipate seeing? Like, what, like, do you have like a talk
So
ready,
I've
or
I've So I've done a lot. This is Compass, and Compass has their message box, and I've been trained by Compass. Like I went to one of their trainings many years ago,
Right.
and I guess their message sunk in because they invite me back as somebody who can help explain it to other people. So, one of the things that I do is I just kind of understand what Compass does, and it's this message box, and it's about basically. Um, it helps scientists take their science and explain it to the people that need to hear it. And sometimes scientists get their, they want to provide all the details because the details are what make them scientists. Like that's the important part. But Compass helps
You mean
them
wait? People
understand.
don't want to know about ANOVAs. They don't want to hear the
Yeah.
details about an ANOVA analysis. What analysis
Yeah,
of
the,
variance? What?
the details are important, but like I, if so the way like for me, like imagine you're trying to talk to a senator or a governor, and each day that governor wakes up and they get maybe like a booklet of like what the heck is going on, and it's got everything in there. Gun issues, the economy, the war, tariffs, and there's like maybe a couple lines about the environment, and it gets boiled down to like this tiny little like one line, and that like that might represent your life's work, and it gets
Yeah.
boiled down to one line, and it can be something like um, the polar bear scientist says we need to stop feeding polar bears turkey legs. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's actually true, but like just making that up, and um, that would be a really bad message, I think, to deliver. But like let's say, so this particular one, all the scientists are actually working on marine carbon dioxide removal, which I actually know nothing about. So like I'm looking forward to learning from all of them about how they communicate it. But who are the people that they need to talk to, right?
Mm.
Within a community that are important, and how do you identify those people? And then, based on what those people's desires, needs, values are, what are the things that you need to say to them so that they understand you? Because you can't just give them everything. Like you've got to explain how does this affect you? What's the big deal? What is going to change? And what is it that you want them to do? And so it's a 2 day conference or 2 day workshop. It's 8 hours a day, and it's a combination of panel discussions and then practicing. So the scientists will go through their message box and give their pitch, and I will make recommendations on how to improve it. And
Yeah.
then they practice it, and they practice it some more, and then they go out in the real world and they do it for real. And Compass has done this. Definitely hundreds, if not thousands, of scientists,
Oh, for
and
sure.
they've very successful. It's a great program. If any of the listeners are looking for ways to communicate science, check out Compass. They're really good at what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely are. And I think like they're kind of like the OGs of teaching scientists to become science communicators, in terms
Yeah,
of science communication in general, right? So I think it's kind of neat to be able to see that happen and see you be a product of that, but also, hundreds and thousands of other scientists also be a product of that. We see it at IMCC. They always come by. They always do a
yeah.
workshop. From your perspective, now we're talking about local communities, so a lot of that indigenous communities. Are you going to be using as an eye, like if you're in one of these indigenous, or like say in Saipan and someone's coming for
Yep.
carbon removal? What do you think, like from your perspective and your experience, even in carbon removal, like what do you think a community like say in Saipan would be looking for if they were at a talk like this, or hearing
Well,
some of these scientists talk about that?
for some of the stuff, it's very similar to deep sea mining, right?
Yeah.
I think it's funny. The uh, people who want to mine the deep sea, people who want to create marine protected areas, people who want to create marine carbon dioxide removal projects, people who want to create sustainable fishing,
Hmm.
all all think they're doing good. They all think they're the good guys, and part of with some of these communities is there's an in-group, out-group dynamic for a lot of these places. And
What
if
does
you're
that
not
mean?
in group, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So like imagine a circle, a big circle, and some people are inside the circle and they're
Okay.
part of the club. And then there are people who are outside of the club. And if you're not from these communities, and one of the scientists that I'm working going to be in my group is from Fiji, and I
Oh,
imagine
cool.
she'll be working with Fijians, so
Right.
she's in group. So,
Yeah.
so she's there. There are we all have our own personal barriers,
Of
but there
course.
will be barriers that won't exist to her because she's actually from Fiji. That say, if I were to go to Fiji, like there would be like massive barriers for me to conduct conservation. Um, and so for somebody who's coming to on an island to do any of those things, or even to sell beer, you got to realize like you're an outsider. And there's a lot of the success, any of your success is going to depend on building relationships with people, and relationships that are built on trust, that are long lasting. And it's really easy to lose those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done this myself. Like I'm as guilty as others out there who have done this because like paid to do this for many years.
Yeah.
Um, if you burn that bridge, you can't rebuild it a lot of times. And
Yeah.
every community is different. Uh, some communities are more skeptical than other communities of outside groups coming in with big ideas. And a lot of these islands, like they've had people show up with like great, big ideas, big promises, um, that often cause more damage than
Mm.
benefit. Things like casinos, um, factories,
Yeah.
outside of conservation, right? But
Yeah.
you're coming in, um, and
I think the,
so
the, the key thing too is your affect each one of these projects in one way or another, directly or indirectly, will affect the people of that community. So deep sea
yeah,
mining will affect the people of of Saipan,
yeah,
right?
they have to live with it.
Yeah, marine protected areas will affect fishers of Saipan and other people within that community, like the processors and things like that. Bringing a casino will affect, jobs.
Yeah.
Either you're getting them or you're losing them because the casino succeeded or failed, all that kind of stuff. It's all affecting them in one way or another. People go in almost being like the hero, being like, "Hey, we're here to save your community,"
Yeah.
and then end up, like you said, making these massive promises and then underperforming, and then people get affected. And then the next person who comes in, there's just that
Hmm.
less trust coming in, being
Yep.
like, "Hey, we've heard this before," and it's all similar.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, those are some of the things that we'll discuss.
Yeah,
I'm excited. It's always fun to work with scientists, and uh, some are super charismatic or great at this, like right out the gate. Others are a little bit more
yeah,
hesitant and shy. And I just, I love working with people because these are things that people like. We love what we do. Like we this is
yeah,
part of our like this is part of
yeah,
our identity. Like we don't
yeah.
get paid big money to do this. It's this
No,
is stuff we really care about, and just
but
really lucky to be able.
I think also the people who are doing this, like that are in the workshop that you're going to be helping and you're going to be working with, they're also scientists who want to do. I'm starting to see more and more scientists go out of just what they want to be able to research. So, say in this case, carbon removal, and go out to have impact. They want their research to
Mhm.
have impact, which means they have to do science communication. So they're learning these tools so that they can do it properly. They're not just going to go in and one, make a fool of themselves, or two, like impact people in a negative way by not understanding how to go in and how to speak to any local community, right? Or even just the public in general. So I really like how we're seeing, how now, like you said, thousands of people have been trained over the years by Compass to be able to allow them to go out. And now with social media, more and more people are using these tools to not only just go in person, but also from afar and just be like, hey, this is what my research is about. Love to hear from it. And then they're getting interaction from the public and from local communities to be like, well, what about this? What about this? And probably questions that they've never even thought about. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I find a lot of times when people say that, I'm like, I've actually never thought about it from that perspective. And I
Mhm.
think it'll make them better scientists, and it'll make them better communicators in the long run. So that's great. So that's for a week. You're there, right? You leave tomorrow, and you're
4
back
nights. Leave
4 nights.
tomorrow. Sleep on the plane. I get in Friday. We've got a dinner on Friday. Workshop Saturday and Sunday, and then on Monday I'm doing a panel with Compass on risk communications. And this
Nice.
is separate from the workshop, but the Compass has a framework for risk communications,
Okay.
and I will be discussing the campaign to oppose deep sea mining in the Marianas
Mm-hmm.
and how a risk communication framework actually applies to what we did, which is, you sort of ultimately you got to you ask people to do something, but
Yes.
identify the problem,
Mm-hmm.
explain how it affects them, and then explain how they can do something. And the way I prepared for that is it's panel discussion, so it's only like an hour long, but I have about 5 minutes of remarks, and I feel bad. This is like I did my homework and I like wrote it out, and it's like it's written out, and so I can tell you the story of what we did in the
Right.
Marianas, um, but I do admit that I basically took their framework and then wrote my story, and I'm
Around
more
the
of an
framework.
expert on my story than I am on the framework, which is
Right.
fine because the Compass people are going to be there and they're the ones who are explaining the framework, and I'm just more of like the guy to be like, oh, but
Here's an
this is how we
example.
did it
Yeah.
in these islands, which
So
is was
they'll tie it all into your story. They'll tie the framework into your
yeah,
story. Is that what you're
yeah,
hoping?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a panel discussion at a science conference, so it won't be thousands of people. It'll be
No, it'll be. I would say you'll
kind of
probably get like maybe 100.
50. I feel like science
You
conference is
think?
50 to 100. Yeah, yeah.
I think
Compass, like
I think your
people like Compass.
communication. People like Compass. I think you'll get 50 to 100. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
more on the 100 side, depending on the size of the room, of course. That always
But I think this is a
makes a
really big
difference.
conference. This is like
This
3,000
is a
people, I
this
think.
is yeah, this is a big conference. It's not like
Yeah.
IMCC. Like this is even with IMCC, although I feel like IMCC is more in tune to the communicators. But
Mhm.
we did a panel on like like how scientists can speak to journalists. I think it was
Oh, cool.
Compass as well, if I remember correctly. And there was a couple. I was there as a podcaster, but they had other journalists from there, and that was cool. Yeah, and a lot of people were asking questions and things like that. So that was kind of fun. And I always find these fun because it's challenging people in a different way. Just like
Mhm.
IMCC did the hackathon and challenge people like engineers and stuff like that
Oh, I remember that.
in a different way. Yeah, in Malaysia, that was a really cool
Yeah.
one. Okay, so so when you go away to like a conference like this, right? You said you're gonna sleep on the plane. It's a 6 hour flight, 7 hour flight, 6 7 hour flight.
Something like that. Yeah.
You stop off at Heathrow, then jump to Glasgow, or is this straight?
Uh, Going through Germany, actually.
Going through Germany. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So I'm a million miler on United. So
Yes.
I try to fly United, and
Yeah.
that gets me a good seat for a cheaper price.
Okay.
Um, and so
How
just
big of a
United
seat are
doesn't
we?
have the
It's not first class. It's like
no, no, no.
economy
Well,
plus.
oh God, I feel so guilty talking about this on a conservation show, but for a long time, I was 1K on United,
Yeah.
and I got upgraded to business on every single flight.
Oh
And so like
wow.
there was a couple years there where I always had a nice chair. Um,
Nice. But you do long flights though. A
yeah,
lot. Like you'll
yeah,
go
like out
back
to the
home
Pacific.
to say if you go
Yeah,
to the Pacific, and those are long flights. Every
long
flight's
flights.
at least 6 hours. If it's like if you're
Or
going from
yeah,
like
or
you
10.
know or 10, yeah, DC to
Yeah,
Hawaii, then Hawaii to Guam, then
it's
Guam
kind
to
of
Saipan
yeah,
is usually the trip you
yeah,
take, I think, right?
yeah,
Um, yeah, and then of course if you're going to Europe or going to like Malaysia or something like that, these are long flights you take. So you deserve
yeah.
the
But
big
then
seats.
I get the miles, and that
Yeah.
pays for my trips for my wife and
Yeah.
or other things. So it's
Yeah,
one of the
absolutely.
perks
For sure.
of
So have you been to
being able to
Glasgow
fly.
before?
No, first time to Scotland. I lived
Okay.
in England for a year as a kid, but this is my first time to Scotland.
Okay. Nice. I did
And
not know that about you. I did not know you lived in the UK.
I've been watching YouTube videos about Glasgow, and in every single video that I've watched, it's raining.
Yeah,
Every
expect rain.
every, all every time of year, it just
It's
rains
just
all the time.
rain. Yeah,
So
it's wet and wet season. It's wet and
yeah,
wetter
and
season, I
so
think.
it's
Yeah.
gonna rain every single day that I'm there.
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
You gonna bring
But
a raincoat?
yeah. So I want to do. I have a couple hours on Friday and a couple hours on Monday, and I'm going to try to walk around and find some shops. I love vintage shopping in Europe.
Okay.
Sometimes there's like really some fun stuff that you find in stores.
Like clothes wise or just everything?
Well, clothes wise, but also like other things.
Okay.
Like you just never know what you're going to find.
Mm.
Uh,
You going Labubu shopping?
I will not go Lububu shopping. I hope that
Remember,
craze is
you're the one who
over.
introduced you and Ed's introduced my wife and I to Labubus. We didn't know what they
Yeah,
were.
they're stupid, is what they are. Uh, yeah, my wife sometimes has the taste of like a 14-year-old girl, even though she's well into her 40s. And it's like if she needs these stupid little things with her, that's fine. If
Hey,
that's what it takes to make her
everybody has a
happy,
collectible.
I buy baseball cards now and then, so
Right,
she can do her thing.
exactly. Does she sell them like Labu, or she just collects them?
She gives them
Because they go
out
for a while.
to she gives them out to curry favor with people that she wants to have control over. Um,
I like
she
that. Okay.
she trades them, and she's like, "Hey, I will give you a Labubu, but you have to be my friend."
Very well, very well. All right, so when you're in we were talking earlier, when you're in Scotland, you found a place to go to do fitness, to run around.
I am.
And
That's the
you're
goal.
running to keep
This
up
is
your
like my
days of
first.
running.
This is the first disruption. So it's been 7 weeks. I've been at home. I haven't traveled. I haven't been sick. It's just been, you know, every day, usually kind of like late afternoon. I go down to the gym in my building and I do 56 minutes of cardio. So I'm up to 56 minutes, and mostly I do the elliptical, and then sometimes I do a little bit of weights afterwards. But this is my first trip, and there's a park across the street, and it's got trails.com or something.
Okay.
Had There's a 2 mile trail in the park. So my goal is I'm gonna bang out 4 miles,
Okay.
which is like 7 kilometers. I'm gonna get in on Friday at lunchtime, and I'm gonna change, and I'm gonna go running. Like that's the goal.
So wait a minute. You're gonna get off an overnight flight where you're gonna
Yep.
quote unquote sleep the whole time.
Sleep. Yep. Hmm.
So that's
And
interrupted sleep.
yep, and it's gonna be in Glasgow where it might be raining, and
It
we'll see
will
how
be
this
raining.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. And I'm gonna go run 4 miles in
Okay.
a park and not get lost.
That might wake you up.
It
You
might.
know what I mean?
It'll let
Like
you
if you're tired, that the adrenaline might wake you up, being like, okay,
Yeah.
your body might be like, "What are you
I've
doing?
so
You
when
silly man."
I have long periods of not fitness, but when I have periods of fitness,
You
I
go hard.
find well, not that I go hard, but I'm much better able to deal with jet lag.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And my unscientific, so we'll use the scientific method. My unscientific hypothesis, based on the observations that I've made, is that when you get your body used to being just beat up, like you also beat your body up when you travel,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you just recover faster.
So
That's my
your
working
resiliency is
my
there.
working
Yeah.
hypothesis. Yeah,
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
but
So you're
I'm
gonna
doing
go
pretty well,
jogging
man.
once or twice, or like
I'm
you're
gonna
gonna try to
try.
go twice,
I'm gonna try 4 times. That's my
four
four
times, four
times.
miles. So
That's four
16
times
miles
four
total.
miles.
Okay.
That's in Scotland.
In Scotland,
But
in the
overall, the
rain.
fitness is going well. I
Yeah.
saw. I got on. I get out. I go down to the gym. I get on the scale. I do my workout, and then I get on the scale before I go home. And one day this week, after a workout, I was under 100 kilos for the first time
Wow.
in a very long time. First time since
Congratulations.
2020. First time in 6 years.
Good for you,
But
man.
the next day
Back
I
up.
was back over 100 kilos, but I saw it for one moment.
But you're not like, but that there's a difference, right? If you're hovering around 100
Yeah,
kilos,
yeah, yeah. Like I'm just
like
above
that's
it right
pretty
now. So
good.
it's like,
Yeah. So that means
yeah, not
you're just done like 6 weeks of this or 7 weeks of this. It's not as
7
if,
weeks. Yeah,
you continue to do this and you'll start to get,
yeah,
you
yeah.
may or
I
may
think
not
I've
get below, but like you said, you've seen changes in how you look too, which is really
yeah,
good,
yeah.
right? Which could
I think
add
I've
weight in some situations, right?
think I've probably lost about 10 pounds, so
Nice.
5 kilos.
Nice. I've been getting on the treadmill. Last week I got on the
Yeah.
treadmill about 2-3 times. And I lost when I
Walking.
started eating properly. I lost it was 4 kilos. So you're looking at
Oh wow.
just over 8 pounds. And then I went on a tournament and I stayed good until we on Monday we had the day off. It was family day here in Ontario. And it was also lunar year yesterday. So we were ringing the new lunar year on Monday. We had hot
Okay.
pot, so it was a lot of food and some
Nice. Oh,
desserts. And
dude.
I hadn't had a dessert in a while, so I was like, you know what, I'll do a dessert. And so I gained some pounds back, but I'm starting to lose them again because I had good. But it was pizza day at work today, so we'll be hovering around. It won't be as quality. But I was
Yeah.
on the treadmill last night. I'm going on the treadmill tonight. I'm going to try and get a couple of days at the gym this week. That's my goal. Try and hit
Nice.
2 days at the gym, and maybe hit 3 or 4 days on the
Yep.
treadmill. Just walking. It's just as I walk, and while I watch a show, I feel great because I find if I'm watching a show and I'm just sitting around, I'm usually lying down, and I feel
Mhm.
awful after I get up. But I also stretched and I rolled out a little bit, and I feel a lot better today
Nice.
than I did yesterday. So I'm super super happy about that.
I've not really been watching what I eat, but like I quit drinking 2 years ago, so I haven't.
Yeah.
I had some wine on New Year's Eve.
Right.
That was like the last time I had a drink. I think I had one soda so far this year. And my wife gave me shit about it. She's like, "Why are you drinking that soda? You're trying to lose weight." I'm like, "I can have one soda, lady."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think for me it's just more of like eating to feel good. Like I had some pizza today.
Uh-huh.
I had 4 slices. Probably shouldn't have had 4 slices.
Uh-huh.
And then I had a Coke, which is probably not good to add on. It makes me feel crappy. So I'm gonna have a salad, like a big salad tonight. Put in some protein and stuff like that. But I've reduced. Other than that, I've reduced the amount of things I've eaten. Like even my snacks and stuff like that, I've reduced that amount. Like already lost half a kilo yesterday, like from yesterday to today. So it's just a matter of like.
I really like a good Italian sandwich.
Yeah.
And there's a Jersey Mike's across the street.
Oh, I heard that's really good. We have one in Guelph.
Yeah.
I haven't gone yet.
Once a week, I smash a foot-long Jersey Mike's Italian sub. So it's like
Nice.
I'm eating normal stuff.
Yeah. Just got to burn those extra calories.
The exercise,
like 300 calories, and you're good. You start losing it nice and slow, and you're doing it properly, right? You'll be, like you said, more resilient. All right, let's move on to another topic that is pretty interesting. The Olympics. Have you been watching the Olympics?
I have not, but
what?
I have not watched anything. Are you
serious?
I've not watched a single thing. Nothing. I've not watched anything. Nothing. But I do know that the Canadians are cheating at curling. That's the one. Well, there's a couple things I know. So there's I've heard about President Trump. So this is what we're going to talk about are the messages that land on somebody who's not paying any attention to the Winter Olympics. You know where I'm from, right? Like I'm from Guam. There are no Winter Olympics in Guam.
The Jamaicans have a bobsledding team. You can watch the Olympics.
Yeah, this year. They're there this year.
They're there every year.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just the 1 year.
No, they're there like every year.
Oh, wow. Why haven't they won?
There's a Haitian there this year who did skiing, and he did a cross country as well. I don't know if there's more than one, but there's like a Haitian team in there, so you can watch the Winter.
I think there's a Filipino skier there too. Like there's a Filipino ice skater too.
Yeah.
So this is what I've heard. Donald Trump is mad at somebody who ice skates. Was it ice skating or no skiing?
It's probably Eileen Gu. Yeah, so
Yeah.
she is I don't know if I'm doing the sport right, a freestyle aerial skier, I think is what it's called, where
Okay.
she basically goes.
Or skateboarding or
No, it's
snowboarding.
it's skiing.
Skis.
It's
Okay.
I believe it's skiing, and she goes down the hill, up the hill, and she does all these crazy flips and
Okay.
360s and
And
stuff
she's
like
like
that.
super popular, right? Like she's a celebrity
She's
and
been doing it since she was 15, and I
yeah.
think she's won the most medals of any freestyle. It's a freestyle aerial skier, I think, is the category
Yeah.
she's in. So
And
she's won
like
like 5 medals.
Donald Trump called her a traitor or something in a
Yeah.
tweet, and that is just stupid. I'm so sorry, world. I didn't vote for that guy.
But it's
A
not
lot of
just
people who
him. It's not that it's become like a huge political thing, right? Because like this is
but it's
if people who
not.
don't, I know it's not, it shouldn't be. There are a lot
Yeah,
of
but it's
athletes
not.
who are born in one country but have ancestry or citizenship in another, and they go and they ski for another. Oftentimes it's because they may or the competition is easier in that event for them
Yeah,
to get
and
on
they
the
can. Yeah,
team, and they can get on the team. So for instance, getting on the Canadian hockey team, if you look at the people on the Canadian hockey team, it's in certain situations it's unfair when the people you see that are on even with the U.S. hockey team, and some with the Czechia team and the Swiss team and the Finnish team and the Swedish team, it looks like it's unfair because they have the best of that country. Some people who are Canadian who may have like a Swiss background will go and play for the Swiss team because they know they won't make the Canadian team, but they still want to represent a country where they have ancestry or they have family and stuff like that. Eileen Gu, I think it's Eileen. I'm not sure how he's
and
pronounced it,
she's
but
good, and
she's
that's why it's a
fantastic.
problem because she's gold medal
And
winner.
she lives born and lives in America, but her mom's from China
Yeah,
and she's going for China. So that U.S. China thing, obviously, everything's political now. Bad Bunny was political, so this is political.
yeah.
So everything is political. But the Olympics are not about politics, really. It's
It's supposed
about
to be about the
the
world coming
sport.
together.
Absolutely. And watching people compete and being
Yeah.
friendly to each other and enjoying each other, and not touching the curling rock twice. I
Which
understand that was
brings us
probably a no-no.
brings us straight to curling. Like who? What are you doing, Canada?
But my question is like, yes, it is illegal and they shouldn't be touching I don't know if it's a bad habit that they do. I don't believe that second touch is doing anything because they're touching it barely with their index finger, but it's not stopping the rock. But it's illegal. I completely agree. And the women got rocks removed, I believe. I don't know if the men did, but the women did it after and they got rocks removed. But it got pretty heated.
Yeah.
There was some swearing.
I mean,
Talk about
it's not
sportsmanship. I mean,
Canadian
curling is
swearing.
not for the faint of
wow.
heart. Curling is not for the faint of heart. Look, we are hockey players at heart, and everybody is a hockey player and ready to fight at any point in time, apparently, in Canada.
I mean, it's just everything I thought I knew about Canadians, just being completely unraveled by your representatives on the curling team.
But I'll
Are you
be
ashamed?
honest, though. No,
Are you ashamed?
No, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed at all. Look, I think we should knock this out of the park right now. People think that Canadians are really friendly, and we are really friendly to a point. Now, you don't talk about us at curling. You don't try and challenge us at hockey. We'll get mean at hockey. Okay, you don't call us a 51st state because then we'll put somebody else in power, and that guy will make you look like an idiot every single time.
Yeah.
People think we're friendly. We are friendly to a point. We have our friendliness that we help people. We will be friendly to people, but if you do us wrong, we will do you wrong. If you challenge us in certain sports, we will try and kick your butt. But we are competitive, and apparently we will do anything that we can to win in curling.
I think I also heard. Congratulations, Canada. Yeah, and again, apologies for everything our country is doing. The gold medal hockey game for men's, is it U.S. versus Canada?
We don't know yet. So
we don't know yet. Okay.
So Canada just won the quarterfinal against Czechia, barely. That was a close one. You know how popular Olympic hockey is for us. We actually watched it at work. Like we all shut down at work.
Sure,
We went over a little lunch and we watched it. It went in overtime. We won 4-3. It was very close. Too close. I don't like it. And apparently the U.S. just beat Sweden in the quarterfinal. So they're going off to the semis, but they're not
The
playing
semis,
each
right.
other in the semis. I think Canada's going to play Finland. I don't know who the U.S. plays. I don't know who's left. There's obviously another game that needs to be played, and they'll be playing in that semi. So there's a possibility that Canada and the U.S. meet, but they still have to beat Finland, and U.S. still has to beat whoever they play, and they're not going to be easy games. But I think that's Sunday, and then the women's hockey U.S. plays Canada tomorrow, I think, for the gold, and so that will be a game. That'll be a pretty good game. I think the U.S. has a better chance. They look amazing, the U.S. women. So we'll see, though. We'll see. Hopefully the Canadians can pull it off, but we get a silver regardless. So we'll
as long as both teams have fun.
As long as both teams, it's funny because it's different. Like in the quarterfinals that we just played, like when we were losing 2-1 in the second, we were like, we better not lose. It'll be an embarrassment if we lose and get kicked out in the quarters. Not that Czechia is not a good team. They played really well. They deserve to win. But we were like, if we don't even get a medal, this sucks. And so we were, Canada gets mean when the Canadians don't win. Like last time the Canadians didn't win and we brought like the wrong team. We brought a bunch of old people like in Japan when the Nagano, I think. There was like a whole convention. All of the major hockey organizations got together. Hockey Canada got together and redesigned our entire program. Like our entire hockey program from the age like 5 and 6 all the way up to the professionals. We redesigned the way we do everything because we were like, there's no way this will ever happen again. It hasn't happened since, but still, we take it seriously. So thank God we were in the semis. Hopefully we get to the gold medal game and we win. But it'll be good to see a Canada-U.S. gold medal because I'm not sure. Did you ever watch the Four Nations Cup last year?
What's that? Oh, I can't believe I said that. No, I did not. I know it exists because you talked to me about it last year. And wasn't there some booing that happened during a national anthem?
So yeah, it was right around, Trump gets into office. He gets inaugurated. He starts talking about 51st state. Canadians start booing the national anthem at games, the American national anthem at games when they come to Canada. And then the Four Nations was basically Finland, Sweden, Canada, U.S. play a round robin, and then they play like a semifinal and final. It was U.S. and Canada in the round robin. There were 3 fights in 10 seconds that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Started by the U.S. in each case. I'm going to tell you that. Started by the U.S. Finished by Canadians, I'm going to say. We lost that game, so it was like, oh my gosh, like this is it, like blah, blah, blah. We get to the finals. We play the U.S. We beat them in overtime. They were great games, but definitely made you sweat while you watched.
That made the news down here, the booing.
Oh,
I remember when that happened.
That's the thing. The booing makes the news, but the game itself, which was probably some of the best hockey I will ever witness from both sides, didn't really make a big deal. That's what I hate about now. Everything's political, and I don't necessarily agree with the booing, but it's like everything's political. And it's just like it's gotta stop. But anyway,
it was like the opposite. That was the opposite of the Super Bowl, where Bad Bunny took up all the oxygen, and the football was terrible.
Yeah, it's almost like it was deflated.
Like worst game ever. Ooh.
No, it's true. You're right. But and Bad Bunny was, again, it was like all politics made up when it was just a halftime show that was pretty entertaining. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch, and nobody's done that before, I feel like. Like bring out like Sugar Cane, like that kind of set. You know what I mean? Where it felt like it was like he was going from one set to the next, and it was all connected. Usually it's like a concert hall, and I think I'm trying to remember
one stage.
Yeah, I would say the last one I saw was like maybe Snoop Dogg.
Perry had
that one.
Yeah, that was pretty. I mean, the Weeknd had a weird one where he ran indoors.
So weird.
Not a fan.
He's from Toronto. I was just like, that guy.
Is he? Oh, good. I'm glad he's Canadian. So my hot take on the Weeknd, he would be more famous if he could dance.
I've never really seen it. I don't listen to his music. It's too slow and
he sounds like Michael Jackson. Like he's like a great singer.
Yeah.
But he plays dance music, but he doesn't like he's not like Usher or Bruno Mars or
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake.
You
And
know
like
what?
the thing,
I feel like he's one of those artists who is a true artist. You know what I mean? Like sometimes he's so artistic
yeah,
that people don't understand what he's trying to do.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
But he
he's
doesn't
like very
dance.
talented, but he doesn't dance.
Yeah,
But like even like you get like especially a lot of hip hop artists like Andre 3000 from Outkast. He's very artistic. He's very creative. But
yeah,
sometimes he's like too artistic where like the pop world or like the rest of the
yeah.
world
You're like,
doesn't really
bro, just
understand what he's trying to
like
do.
his last album was a flute album.
Yes, it was all flute. It was all flute.
And like you
Yeah.
imagine you go buy his new rap album and it's
Yeah,
just him
people
playing the
did.
flute.
It's just like playing the flute. Well, same thing like Mos Def, a very good rapper, very good writer, and then all of a sudden he comes out with a hard metal like album, and you're just like, okay, but not many people bought it. Same with if I'm not sure if you've ever been to a Lauryn Hill concert recently. Have you been to? Are you a Lauryn Hill fan?
I mean, of the Fugees,
Yeah, of the Fugees. Yeah,
I have not
five-time
heard.
Grammy winner or whatever. I
I,
think she's won.
I've not heard much from her in the last 20 years. So
So she's doing
shame
a
on me.
tour. She's doing a tour.
Yeah, I heard about this.
And it's very interesting. My wife and daughter went to it. She wears these big dresses, like these very fashionable, but like almost like opera type dresses, but like very gigantic dresses. And then she sings, but she remixes all the songs. So
Okay,
a lot
cool.
of people expect to go see, typical the from the album, and they are from the album, but
Yeah,
they're like different beats and everything like that. So some people don't like it in the way, and she doesn't really move much. So from an entertainment perspective, like you said, like you get like the Katy Perry's, you'll get like the Taylor Swift's, you'll get the Bruno
yeah,
Mars. They'll be super entertaining, and they're great music, but they may not match the level of
yeah,
voice that some of these artists have, but they're just maybe too
yeah,
artistic for everybody's taste. I guess they're more niche,
yeah.
but I don't know.
We've got Bruno Mars tickets, by the way.
We do too in
Yeah,
Toronto.
we got floor seats. No,
We do too.
DC.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is he playing at the Where is it? At the baseball stadium?
No.
Where's he playing?
So it's kind of interesting because you could play. We thought he was playing at the Rogers Center, which is the Sky Dome, like
Yeah.
where the Jays play, but it's actually the Rogers Stadium, which is like an outdoor venue that people don't really like. It's in the middle of the city. It's not easy to get to. So a lot of people are not happy that it's there because it's so confusing. Rogers Center, Rogers Stadium, this and that. We paid a lot of money for the tickets. We're going to it. The whole family's going. We are super
Oh
excited.
wow!
Yeah. My kids are going to.
You're gonna be the dad at the Bruno Mars concert.
I'm going in full dad getup, full dad
No,
mode.
dude, no, you should go in dressed as Bruno Mars.
No,
You should
I can't
pick.
dress as
Yes,
Mars. No,
yes, yeah. No, pick a Bruno Mars era, and you should go as that.
go as that.
I mean, like some of his eras were Polar Bear and flip flops.
That's true.
That's
I'll do the polar
you could
bear
go
flip flops era.
you could be the lazy song era. Just
Yeah.
wear your pajamas.
Wear my pajamas. I might do that. That might be a thing. It'll be May.
And
It's
just be
end
like,
of May, so it'll be like decent weather. Hopefully not raining,
okay,
but decent
yeah.
weather.
Ours is May 3rd, I think. So we'll see him
Yeah.
before you do.
Yeah. Ours is late May. I think he's coming after. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. But we can compare notes on the if he did the same kind of songs. But I like his new song. I like all his songs. A lot of fun to dance to. So I feel like he's a great entertainer too. So anyway, we talked
Awesome.
a lot about other stuff other than marine stuff today, but that's okay.
We'll get back to conservation next week.
Absolutely. We'll hear from your conference. Hopefully you're not too jet lagged, and we'll pick another topic. If you guys want us to pick a topic, let us know in the comments, and we'll pick it up and we will talk about it. But in that, Angela, if people want to follow you, where do they go?
All my socials are Taotasi, TAOTAOTASI.
Perfect.
Except on TikTok, where I'm Chamorro Dude in DC, but I'm probably not going to post on TikTok.
What? You should.
It's too much work.
No. Just post a video of you
we'll see.
talking. All right. All right, cool. Everybody, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. You listening. Have a great day and happy conservation.
Adios.